The movie begins in a cave, where we meet Eep and her family, the Croods, who live in this cave daily. They would go out to find more when they ran out of food. They used to have neighbors, but they were all wiped out. When the continents formed, everything changed. After several days, they left the cave to find food. They lived among the rocks and crossed the entire area to find an egg, which Thunk grabbed. However, the mother tackled him. This family knew what they were doing. They had everything planned. Unfortunately, some animals wanted to take the egg from them. It was like a game of American football. When a monster appeared, they climbed onto a mammoth and fled. They drank the raw egg and returned to their cave, except for Eep, who watched the sunset. She heard something, and the monster arrived, but they managed to close the cave with Eep inside. She was tired of this. She didn't understand why they were doing it. Her father told her she would die from being curious. At night, Eep heard a sound, and suddenly everything lit up. But she didn't know what it was, so she decided to investigate. She left the cave and found something shiny. She ran and ran until she reached the surface, where she found a flame and a living being like herself. It was a young human, clearly more civilized, as he knew how to start a fire, and was better dressed. His name was Guy, and his sloth was called Belt, who held up his pants like a belt. Guy told her that the end was near, and that the entire earth would be destroyed. A total disaster. Eep didn't want to go with him, so he gave her a shell to call him if she survived. Her father woke up and saw her outside. When she told him she met someone new, they got scared and broke the shell. With that, the ground started to shake, and the earth cracked. It was horrible, but they survived. Everything was destroyed, including their cave. The good thing was that they reached a different place, and as the monster was chasing them, they fled the area. It was like a jungle, with all kinds of plants, in all colors. It was incredible, and Eep loved it. They were very strange animals, so they walked carefully. They continued, until they encountered a bunch of monkeys who hit the dad with a stick. Suddenly, a colorful big-headed saber-toothed cat appeared. They fled into a cave, but it turned out to be the mouth of a rhino whale. The big-headed cat got scared when it started to get dark, because a bunch of birds came out and killed the rhino whale. They found a conch shell, blew it, and Guy arrived. He started a fire, which drove the creatures away, since they didn't like the light, just like the Croods. Guy called them cavemen because they were like primitive animals. When Eep told him it was her family, it was awkward. The fire drove them crazy due to their low intellect. They burned the whole place, even a huge corn cob that exploded in the sky, making popcorn. The next day, Guy told them that what happened was the beginning of the end, and he didn't want to stay with them. But the dad kidnapped him because they needed him to survive. He told them to go to a mountain where there were caves. The father agreed, and they all set out. They then found another egg. The guy was confused. He didn't understand why they did that. They were very primitive to him. Eep freed him to hunt, and even made a trap to catch a giant chicken. It didn't fall into the trap and tried to eat Eep, but finally, it fell in. They cooked it and ate it. They were too uncivilized for Guy. They even scared him. When the father told another story, Guy told a better one, about a wonderful place where they could see tomorrow. But the father refused. He just wanted to go to a cave. When they woke up, the ground had separated. They had to move faster, as the destruction was happening more quickly than usual. They arrived at a place full of dry snails with sand, which looked like an ocean without water. Since Guy knew how to survive, he managed to pass through and free himself. But because he was nice, he wanted to help them. He made them shoes, which drove them crazy, as they didn't know where their feet went. Guy told them that ideas were coming from their brains, something they didn't even know they had. So they continued, discovering fruits like bananas. Guy's ideas helped them survive, but the dad refused to use new things. He didn't even know what rain was. Guy made umbrellas for them and took them to the sea, where they learned to swim. Then, Guy gave them conch shells to communicate if they were in danger. Sure enough, there was a landslide that separated them, and thanks to the conch shells, they knew they were safe. When they emerged, they found a tropical place, with a pig crocodile. Eep found a cave full of quartz. The pig crocodile was like a dog, and the dad was in a cave, just as he wanted. Guy and Eep fell in love until Thunk arrived, and the family reunited. But the dad felt lost and bad because no one listened to him. They listened to Guy, who was kind, and taught them new things. Unfortunately, the disaster caught up to them, and they had to do something. They climbed to the top of a tree and found a starry sky with hundreds of suns surrounding them. Seeing this, everyone wanted to go with Guy, not the dad, who didn't even know where to go. The dad started acting strange, imitating Guy and his ideas. They continued on and finally reached the Great Mountain. Unfortunately, a disaster was coming, and out of desperation, the dad tried to get them into a cave. But they no longer wanted that. That wasn't living. They preferred to follow Guy. So the dad chased Guy in a rage, and they ended up trapped in a lot of tar. Guy told them it was impossible to get out of it, because his family died that way. Before leaving, they told Guy not to hide, but to live, and always follow the sun. This made the dad reflect, and they started getting along. The guy came up with an idea. They wanted to attract the big-headed tiger, who pulled them out of the tar. The tiger tried to eat them, but ended up flying away. Unfortunately, the end of the world was upon them. Everyone fled under Guy's leadership, heading toward the sun. The disaster struck, and there seemed to be no escape, but the dad, for the first time, he was curious to know what was coming, and he realized he would never hide again. They had to follow the light, so he threw it to Guy to see if it was safe. And luckily it was. He threw everyone else to the other side, but unfortunately he couldn't cross, and the landslide chased him. He was lost, but he managed to make a fire. No one saw it since he was alone. He started painting his family when the tiger reached him. It was about to eat him, but was also scared and stayed by his side. For the first time, he had an idea. He used some tar to attract the birds and made the first helicopter. Before the disaster struck, he took as many animals as he could and lifted them with him. The landslide caught up, and they thought he had died, but he managed to land safely. Everyone was so happy, they even had new pets. They arrived at an incredible beach. With this, everything changed. From living in darkness, they now lived in adventure where anything could happen. They just had to follow the light. And that is the story of the Croods.